Hello and welcome to my second video from the University of Salford MSc Wildlife Conservation field trip to Costa Rica. This is on leafcutter ants. Here there's a bit of a traffic jam because many of the workers seem to be removing a large corpse, I think, thus getting in everyone else's way. And here a little slow motion of one of these wonderfully hard-working, diligent ants carrying a little leaf back to the nest. Now later on you'll see the trail, but it's 10, 20, 30 meters long at least. It's an incredible distance. And this is it in real time. I mean, the sheer scale of all the climbing that they have to do on these cobbles is amazing because they really are tiny, tiny animals. And in the forest here, again, just the scale of the work, I really fell in love with these little things. All sorts of different vegetable matter brought back to the nest. And in the nest, they grow fungus on the leaves and eat the actual fungus. They don't technically eat the leaves themselves. So that corpse being moved in slow motion here. So they're very fastidious. And more of the leaves. This was all filmed on University of Salford biology and wildlife equipment, Canon SLRs and a couple of different macro lenses. They're wonderful, wonderful things. You can hear the fan of the computer there. Apologies for that. One of the reasons they're so successful is because, funnily enough, plants don't like being eaten. And so if you are a conventional plant eater, you can only eat a small percentage of the leaves in the forest. And rainforests can easily have hundreds or thousands of tree species. So a small percentage of those gives you a very small ecological niche. Whereas the leafcutters can, by growing fungus on the leaves, consume between 20, maybe even as high as 40% of the leafing species in their habitat. So they've got a much larger income, if you like, a much larger food supply than any of the conventional plant eaters. Here you can see a large worker becoming completely obsessed with a single leaf, which over the course of well over a minute, it fails to move. It's not, I mean, they're amazing things. They're not that smart. This one hasn't yet discovered that you can't lift anything if you're standing on it. But eventually, after about a minute, it finally gets it moving. And as far as I can remember, it then falls on its face because it's not carrying it effectively. You'll see this in a bit. Look at the tiny scale of it all. Look at all the hairs on those leaves. Nearly there. Is she going to make it? No. This is more of a close-up of the colonies, the leaf trail, moving all the way out of vegetation across a road and then into the distance. Just amazing industry. They're almost blind. Large majority of this is controlled by pheromones. I guess if they weren't blind, they wouldn't have spent about a minute lifting a hopeless leaf. You get normally 4 basic sizes of worker ants in the leafcutter colonies. Now, one you'll see in some of the later video is, I think they're called minims. I can't remember the right word, but their job, or part of their job, is to sit on top of the leaf fragments and fight off any parasitoid wasps that might try and hitchhike on a fragment of leaf into the colony. Because once those wasps get into the colony, they're going to attack the brood chambers, and they could devastate a large part of the ants' brood in that given week. So the ants have evolved a special type of worker, a large part of whose job is to prevent that happening. And you'll see them later, hitchhiking on the top of leaves, making the load even heavier, and they're there partly to fight off any parasites. Look at this trail, it's gone 10 or 20 metres already, but we've not seen either end of it. This is some close-up on a new Salford lens. It's a Pro macro lens, very good for extreme close-ups. Shifting to slow motion now, as there's a trail of ants with leaves to the left, and then the unburdened workers are pretty much walking straight towards the camera. I'm probably about 1.5 inches from them. Or sorry, the lens is probably about 1.5 inches from them now. This is all equipment that's available to University of Salford students within biology and wildlife. You're welcome to borrow this equipment to use it. Look at these beautifully clipped leaf fragments. Again, this is slow motion. Maybe a bit too slow, but you can really see everything that's happening. And you can see that the ones carrying leaves are much slower moving. They're very much burdened with all that weight. So here we can see that there must have been rain recently, because the ants have dropped all these leaf fragments and they are busy picking them all up, which is a heck of a job. And you can see some red leaves here as well as all the green. We're near the coast now, and we did see nests on this day. They are several meters in diameter. Amazing things. But I just sprained my back at the time, so wasn't in any mood to film them. Struggling with the focus here, apologies for this, but you can see the trail going all the way back tens of meters.